Perfect. So hello, everyone. My name is Daniel, and today I'm going to be talking about my film Trip. Before we begin, I just want to clarify that this film deals with substance abuse and also deals with migration. So if anyone in the audience might feel triggered by those topics, please take the necessary measures. But let's get started. Trip is a film created as the result of nearly 1 year in isolation due to the pandemic. In it, I explore what it is to be a dancer, what it is to be a citizen and a migrant, and how these three roles interact and conflict with each other during times of crisis and change. A little bit of history behind the project. I came to California almost 7 years ago, and I was frustrated with my inability to communicate. I always tell my friends that I could go to Burger King or Wendy's and ask for one of your number one, no changes. That was really easy for me, but it was really hard for me to make friends and tell them about my interests and my backgrounds and what music do I like and why do I like that music. So I became a dancer with the belief that through artistic expression, we can better communicate with people because when we have dogs and cats, they usually communicate through smell. When we have whales or dolphins, they usually communicate through sound. Eels and sharks communicate through electric impulses. But for us, for humans, I believe that creativity is what makes us human and it's what gives us the ability to understand each other. That's why TREEP at its core deals with contrasting and often opposing practices and traditions within dance academia. I see myself as a hippie, as a postmodernist, as someone that's against institutions, and very ironically, here I am in a wonderful institution, one of the top 25 in the country. We're going for top 10, hopefully next few years. So watch out, UC Berkeley. We're going after you. But for example, I contrasted imagery of ballet and heavy metal music. I incorporated modern filmmaking techniques to create an old school look for the film. And the main character in the film, it's an atemporal being. So he lives both in the future, in the past, and in the present. Here's a little example of how I create this old style look. So this blackness with white is actually my stove. One day I was washing my stove with white soap and it just created this sense of waves. So I recorded it, I added a black and white effect, and then I overlaid it with some images of me to create that feeling of being in the ocean, of drifting. And the film continues with more of those contrasting techniques. So as a dancer, there are several choreographic techniques that are often used in modern dance. I want to clarify that within dance academia, there is the modern dance that has its founding fathers, its history, and it emerged in opposition to ballet. Uh, but unlike geographical eras when one ends and the other one begins, in art, one appears as an opposition to the previous one, but they both continue to grow together and to influence each other. So for the purposes of this presentation, when I say modern dance, think of everything after the 1950s. So it's 70 years of history that I relied on. Because Trip was a virtual experience, I was able to choreograph sequences that would not be possible in real life, which contributed to the idea of Trip being a dreamlike experience. That's why I chose the title Trip, as in when someone's very intoxicated, they say they're tripping. Some of the concepts that I incorporate are retrograde, time speed alterations, improvisation. Now, the later two concepts are very self explanatory. Retrograde, for those that don't understand dance lingo, basically, if you go up, down, right, left, you come back with left, right, down, up. So that's an example of retrograde. And I have it right here in the film as well. So first, this is the unaltered clip. It's me moving as slow as possible, but you can tell in my clothes that it's just me acting in slow motion, not real slow motion. We can also see a lot of white dots in the background, and then I'm gonna show how I fix that for the film. Okay, so I zoomed in. As you can see, I added layers of another painting. I'll talk about the paintings later on. And I sped it up. And it's gonna continue, and then you're gonna see the retrograde really quickly. There you go. So it retrogrades and then alters the time and speed. Okay, now me as a dancer, I collaborated for the first time because I see myself as a solo artist. I'm not a very social person, but I decided to really make this project about community. I contacted people from my school and from my friends in Mexico, and we all collaborated. So it's an international project. Here's a little example of the instructions that I gave my dancers. I hope everyone can read the subtitles. But basically, I send them weekly videos telling them what my vision was, and then I let them record themselves in however they saw fit, because I know that we all have different living situations, different backgrounds in our walls. So I just approach this project in a very open way. And here's an example of my interactions with my friends in Mexico that helped me create a little stop motion animation. I told them what the project was about. I told them how long I wanted the clip to be, and just asked them how much money they will charge me for it. Now, here's the most interesting part, and it's me as a citizen. Now, I was an essential worker during the production of the film, which influenced my views on life, people, and relationships. I was very inspired by the book Brave New World. If you haven't read it, it's okay. I'm not gonna spoil the plot. All you have to take from it is that there is the future, and there's this drug called soma, and basically you eat it and it makes you happy, because being angry or sad is almost seen as taboo. And that takes us to the topic of addiction. Now, as you can see in this picture, I worked in Little Caesars. I'm wearing a black shirt because I was the manager. I became the manager when my manager died of COVID, and our co-manager also got sick from COVID. So I was thrown into the fire, and I began noticing that a lot of my coworkers show up to work intoxicated, sometimes drunk, sometimes smelling like weed. Sometimes I had some of my 18 and 19-year-old female coworkers showing up shaking because they had two jobs and they were still on finals week, and they had to take all of this caffeine and Red Bulls. And I had to make a very, very strong decision as a manager, because I could fire them, or but that was detrimental for them and for the business, because we're short on staff and they don't have an income. I could just tell the customers to come back later, but Little Caesars was one of the very few restaurants that we never closed, we never changed our hours, and sadly we never changed our paid either. So we had a lot of people coming into the store because there was no other place to go, and we suffered a lot. All of us, we got spit on, we got yelled at. One person threw a pizza at us. One homeless individual grabbed the trash and brought it into the store, just throwing it in sign of protest. And it was very, very hard, but it also helped me realize that our addictions, the things that we consume, the things that we become dependent on, they are who we are, and they help us go through life. And I'm not posing questions of morality. I'm not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just want to note, or wanted to note in the film, that that's the reality of America right now. And just the last little thing is that I found it super scary that we actually have like gummies with THC and CBD. So it's literally something that you put in your mouth and supposedly make you happy, just like in the book. And now the last part, why the beans? So this is a section that a lot of people that have seen the film comment on. I want to share it if we still have some time. Okay, really short, but you can see the heavy metal music, you can see the ballet influence, and the question of why there's so many beans. And it's because as a Mexican, a lot of people try to refer to me sometimes almost as an insult. They say that I'm a beaner, and I don't take it as an insult. I love eating beans, and I'm someone that already left his home country. I left my family, my friends, and everything that I knew and loved. So someone calling me a beaner, or someone spitting at me or throwing a pizza at me, it's not something that is going to offend me or affect me in any way. So thank you. The video and essays, I'm going to put the link on the chat because it's a 10, 11-minute film. I didn't have the chance to show the whole thing, but I hope everyone gets to see it. And I want to keep working on this project. My original dream before the pandemic was to have a full-on 1-hour ballet with heavy metal music. Obviously, because of COVID, that had to change. It turned into this video that I now take as a starting point for the next year, maybe 2 years, that I'm going to be working on this. And that's it.
Thank you, Daniel. Let me